Straight ahead on Law and Crime Daily. The Rust movie set shooting is back in the spotlight.
Our OSHA investigators have determined that Rust Production failed in their obligation to provide a workplace free of recognized hazards.
But first, complete coverage of the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation lawsuit.
After you said, let's drown her before we burn her, Mr. Depp, you said, I will her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead.
Disturbing text messages revealed when Depp is back on the stand. Plus, how Depp says Heard's abuse allegations affected his career.
I lost then, no matter the outcome of this trial. I'll carry that for the rest of my days.
And later,
I called her Slim and she called me Steve, which was Lauren Bacall's and Humphrey Bogart's nickname.
could a once romantic pet name make way for Heard's courtroom wardrobe? We take a closer look at the internet theory. Law and Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm your host, Brian Buckmeyer. Cross-examination gets heated as Johnny Depp takes the stand for the third day. Law and Crime Network's Jesse Weber was inside the courtroom Thursday. He joins us now in Fairfax, Virginia, to break down the back and forth of cross-examination.
Yeah, Brian, so cross-examination began with Depp admitting that abuse can take many forms, not just physical, but also emotional and verbal, something that Depp admitted to because he was abused by his mother in the same way. Now, that's important because Amber Heard's side is saying that she was abused by Johnny Depp in a multitude of ways and that she was not lying about him in that Washington Post article. From there, we heard attorney J. Benjamin Rottenborn, who's representing Amber Heard, leading Johnny Depp through that alleged abuse, particularly through a series of text messages. They tried to show the jury that Depp was potentially violent, mean, degrading, and of course had a very serious substance abuse problem. Depp, in these text messages, called himself a monster, a savage, someone who would spray rage, and even in another text message to someone, threatened to smack Amber Heard. They even played audio of Depp on that infamous flight from Boston to L.A. where he is groaning and moaning. This again reinforcing that he was potentially violent and also that he was the one, not Amber Heard, who torpedoed his own career through his behavior. This included showing up late or even destroying property, which is something that Depp admitted to under cross-examination. And they even presented a text message from Johnny Depp to Amber Heard's mother where he admits that Amber Heard helped him through the detoxification process, which is something in stark contrast to what he testified to under direct examination. So Depp is clearly in the hot seat, but how much this is going to hurt his case or help Amber Heard's case, that's something we'll just have to wait and see. Brian?
Thanks, Jesse. On cross-examination, Depp admitted to past physical violence and later some disturbing text messages he sent.
You've trashed hotel rooms before simply because you've had a bad couple days and an unpleasant time, correct?
I have assaulted a couch or two, yes, sir.
You'd agree that at times in your life you've expressed yourself through destructive behavior?
Yes.
And you'd agree that at times when you were angry, you smashed things up, right?
More in my confused sort of youth, yes.
You text Mr. Bettany, let's burn Amber, 3 exclamation points, right? You see that?
I do see that.
And at this time, June 11, 2013, Amber is your girlfriend or perhaps even your fiance at this point, correct?
Girlfriend,
yeah,
for sure.
And you didn't stop when you said, let's burn Amber. You say, let's drown her before we burn her, 3 exclamation points. Did I read that right?
Yes, it's referring to the text prior to.
You didn't stop when you said, let's drown her before we burn her. After that, you made another comment, and I'd like to apologize to the court and to the jury for some of the language that I'm going to have to use today, but unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of documents with language like this. After you said, let's drown her before we burn her, Mr. Depp, you said, I will her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead. That's what you said that you would do after you burned her and after you drowned her. Did I read that right?
You certainly did, yes.
And you wrote that about the woman who would later become your wife?
Yes, I did.
Joining us today is trial attorney Krista Ramey and co-host Terry Austin. Krista, how does arguing Depp's career was on the decline help Heard's case? Is she proving that point? Because we've got at least 100,000 people watching daily that say otherwise.
Well, if his career was on the decline, then anything that she wrote would not have caused any damages to him. So if there was, in fact, defamation, the fact that there was a decline in his career could be blamed on a multitude of other things, including his excessive drinking and drug use, which was well known at that time.
You know, it'd be interesting to see how that, maybe Depp's lawyers kind of twist that and say this accelerated it. I don't know. But that's a great point, Krista. Terry, these drown and burn texts and some of the audio recordings that we're hearing as well, does that change Depp's image in your mind? Do you think it will make the jury believe he is capable of hitting Heard because of these messages?
You know what? The language doesn't change my image of Depp, and I don't think it changes anybody in the jury's image of Depp. Listen, they know that he has this unique and distinct vernacular. He uses curse words. He speaks in hyperbole. He uses imagery. You can't take everything he says literally because he doesn't actually mean he's going to drown and burn her. He doesn't mean he wants to see her body in the back of a Honda Civic. So I think for a fact that he uses language that can be offensive, but it's not language that I think will change the image that people have of him. I think they understand that he's unique in this way and that he doesn't mean all of the things that he is saying.
Yeah, and another point too, if he's saying this when they were dating as girlfriend and boyfriend or fiance, he ultimately married her. So obviously those are not true feelings. As you said, Terry, probably a hyperbole, but we'll see as the case continues. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, our coverage continues on Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. After the break, what led up to Depp's back and forth cross-examination and how he says Heard's op-ed has affected his career. Continues now in the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard defamation lawsuit. Ahead of Thursday's cross-examination, Depp finished direct on a strong note, explaining how the Washington Post op-ed has affected his career.
Did you experience any consequences after the release of the op-ed?
Absolutely.
And what were those?
Oh, I believe it was, I don't think it took Disney very long, maybe a couple of days, to announce that I had been removed from the Pirates of the Caribbean films franchise. I'll put it to you this way, no matter the outcome of this trial, the second the allegations were made against me, the accusations, the second that more and more of these things, as I said, metastasized and turned into fodder for the media, once that happens, once that happened, I lost. I will live with that for the rest of my life because of the allegations and because it was such a high-profile case. So I lost then, no matter the outcome of this trial. I'll carry that for the rest of my days.
In a brief cross-exam on Wednesday, Heard's attorneys asked about Depp's career post-abuse allegations and pinpointed what event led to his legal action.
And you aren't aware, you said Pirate 6 in your view is dangling. You're not aware of if or when Pirate 6 will be made, correct?
No, sir. No.
And the fact is, Mr. Depp, if Disney came to you with $300 million and 1 million alpacas, nothing on this earth would get you to go back and work with Disney on a Pirates of the Caribbean film, correct?
That is true, Mr. Rottenborn.
And you spent a long time talking about the impact of the abuse allegations made in Ms. Heard's obtaining the temporary restraining order in, or the domestic violence restraining order in May 2016, right?
Sure.
And you testified that you wanted to fight it, right? But the fact is, you never fought the allegations in court in 2016. It was only after Ms. Heard published this op-ed in 2018 that you fought them. You never tried to fight them in 2016, did you?
I was advised by my attorneys not to fight.
Yeah, if I knew Disney was paying alpacas, I would have asked for more. Terry, this cross-examination seems a little messy with this op-ed. Was it something else that destroyed his career or him? Do you think this is going to lead us to seeing a lot of redirect, recross, back and forth to kind of iron out these details?
Well, I hope we don't see a lot of that, but we might. Listen, the Washington Post op-ed was just the culmination of all of these events. Their problems began when the relationship began, or not long afterwards. They started out in 2012 in heavenly bliss, and then about a year after, they started having these accusations going back and forth. And certainly by 2016, when she filed the TRO, things were very messy. They got the divorce. And I think that's when she started making these accusations. Of course, the op-ed post is the center of everything, but he's going to have to demonstrate how everything led up to that and how the statement he made wasn't really something that was true. He made it because his lawyers told him not to fight the TRO. So we'll see what happens, but I think it has to be cleaned up as far as Depp's team is concerned.
Yeah, Krista, now if, this is a big if, I don't want people thinking this isn't going to happen, but if Heard's attorneys prove it wasn't the op-ed that lost Depp the ability to work with Disney, could this case end before Amber Heard ever takes the stand?
Well, it's a good point. First of all, I think that Amber Heard will take the stand regardless of anything. I think if I were prosecuting this case, I would put Amber Heard on in my case in chief as representing Johnny Depp. It's not like a civil case. You can call any party to the stand, or a criminal case rather. So you might see Amber Heard take the stand immediately after Johnny Depp, or shortly thereafter before the plaintiff closes.
That's going to be interesting to see if Johnny Depp's own attorneys call Amber Heard. It's going to be great TV, and of course, if it happens, we'll have it here for you. Thank you both. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, our coverage continues in the defamation suit. Is Amber Heard's court attire a strategy? And is she copying her ex-husband's looks or those of a Hollywood legend? We examine the fashion theory taking the internet by storm. Welcome back. We continue our coverage of the multi-million-dollar defamation suit, where Hollywood exes Johnny Depp and Amber Heard face off in Fairfax, Virginia. The case, getting record streaming numbers here at the Law and Crime Network, has gained attention from across the globe. Some fans now creating a theory that Amber Heard is strategically planning her outfits and hairstyles each day she's in court. Last week, eagle-eyed fans noticed a B pin worn by Depp to court. In the days following, Heard is wearing a similar pin on her tie. Some fans say Heard is specifically copying outfits worn by Depp. Others say Heard is now dressing as famed actress Lauren Bacall. In direct examination, Depp testified he used to call Heard the nickname Slim based on a Lauren Bacall character. He says the pair consider themselves similar to Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart, two famed actors who had a similar large age gap.
I called her Slim and she called me Steve, which was Lauren Bacall's and Humphrey Bogart's nicknames for each other in the film. That was their names in the film. And it wasn't lost on me the fact that there was an age difference, and that my God, when Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, that's when they met on that film. He was 45 years old and she was 19. I acknowledged the fact that I was the old craggy bogey and she was this beautiful creature.
All right, Terry, since you had to explain it to this Canadian millennial, what's your take on this Amber Heard, Lauren Bacall theory? Because I'm not too familiar with who she is.
Well, I do think she's trying to look a little bit like Lauren Bacall, and frankly, she looks a lot like Lauren Bacall. She is a beautiful woman. You cannot take that away from her. She is a stunning creature, and you've heard testimony about the fact she doesn't even need makeup. She wakes up looking like that. I think it was endearing for Johnny to talk about the fact that he called her slim, she called him Steve. He acknowledged the age difference. He acknowledged he's the old groggy bogey. And so I do think it made him look good. And I think his image is very similar to his image in the movies. And so they're both sort of playing the characters that they are and the characters that the audience already thinks of them. And I think it could work to their advantage to see Johnny Depp as, the captain and to see her as Lauren Bacall.
Yeah, and Kristen, this is interesting because I think we both agree on this. Most seasoned trial attorneys I know think long and hard about what their client will wear in front of the jury because clothes, as we know, say a lot. Any thoughts on what you've seen, heard, and Depp wear, and what impressions you think that could be giving the jury?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I've taken client shopping. I think that they're both dressing very smart. There's some choices that they're making that I think are bad. Because you do want them to clean up and present well to a jury. So I think that Johnny Depp suddenly pulling his hair back into a ponytail, I think worked. I think that his lawyers and his trial team, maybe pivoted after he had his hair down the first day of trial. I wish that he would take off the colored reading glasses, though. I think they're distracting. And although it is part of his image, I don't think it works here.
All right, we'll see how the jurors interpret this and other evidence that comes into the case. Thank you very much, both. When we come back, the deadly Rust movie shooting. Months after the shocking incident, the state of New Mexico reveals its investigation results. What they say was the root of the problem in the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Actor Alec Baldwin says a newly released investigation into the shooting on his New Mexico film set clears his name. This after the film's production company is fined for safety failures. The shooting happened in the outskirts of Santa Fe in October 2021. Baldwin was pointing a gun at cinematographer Helena Hutchins while they were setting up for a scene. Baldwin said in interviews after the shooting, the gun, quote, just went off, killing Hutchins and wounding the director, Joel Souza. On Wednesday, New Mexico workplace safety regulators issued the maximum possible fine against Rust Movie Productions, totaling around $137,000. The state's Occupational Health and Safety Bureau, or OSHA, says their investigation revealed a laundry list of safety failures in violation of standard industry protocols, including the film's assistant director handing the revolver to Baldwin without consulting the on-set weapons specialist. Regulators also noted the AD took no investigative or corrective action when he witnessed 2 other accidental discharges of rifles on set. OSHA announced the fines in a video release.
Our OSHA investigators have determined that Rust Production failed in their obligation to provide a workplace free of recognized hazards. More specifically, there were several management failures and more than sufficient evidence to suggest that if standard industry practices were followed, the fatal shooting of Helena Hutchins and the serious injury to Joel Souza would not have occurred. The bottom line here is that it was the employer's obligation to follow national standards, and that did not happen on the set of Rust. While I realize no fine can compensate for the loss of life, we are holding Rust Productions fully accountable.
Krista, when I hear that presser, my public defender senses start tingling. That sounds like recklessness to me. You're not following industry practices. So could we see reckless homicide or other criminal charges citing this report in the future?
I think that it's even more than just reckless. The report noted that it was willful and intentional disregard of the safety measures that were in place and, that were there to protect the employees. I think that you're absolutely right, Brian. I think that you can, see charges coming down for the supervisors on the set, the people that acted willfully, their supervisors, and that could include by the way, Mr. Baldwin, who is his production company, was, an employer on that very set. So, yeah, I think that there is a good possibility that you could see criminal charges flowing from this.
Yeah, but Terry, Baldwin says this clears him of all wrongdoing. So do you think these results do just that?
I think it's ironic, Brian, that he thinks that these findings clear him of any wrongdoing. I think just the opposite. In those findings, you heard them say that these are maximum fines. Of course, it doesn't bring back anyone to life, and it doesn't, detract from the fact that people were injured. But I think it's saying overall that Rust Productions failed and they did not follow industry standards. And Alec Baldwin is absolutely responsible. He is one of the producers on that set. He is the employer. As Krista said, he is involved here. He basically, during one of the interviews, said that he wasn't responsible for hiring, but he is responsible for hiring. He's responsible for making sure that the set is safe all of the time. And ultimately, even if there are no criminal charges, there could very well be some, penalties as far as the civil case is concerned.
Yeah, I can see this investigation being cited in a lot of actions around this case. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.